Well, welcome back to Not Another Robert Moses podcast, where we talk about everything that's not Robert Moses. Nick, what have you been up to today that was not related to Robert Moses?
Oh, well, that's all the time we have, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in.
It's been great. Make sure you check out our Patreon, where we post pictures of not Robert Moses, talk about things that are not Robert Moses, and otherwise just do generally non-Robert Mosesian thing.
That's so funny. It's a join our Patreon where we Photoshop ourselves into photos of Robert Moses park openings. It's just us like, oh.
Love it.
Oh no, it's funny. I was actually not gonna open with Robert Moses, weirdly enough. Tell me why we were talking about this earlier, but why is Chrome trash? I was using Chrome, and you're like, don't use Chrome.
So first of all, Chrome eats RAM, like chews it up, spits it out. It is
Still?
so inefficient. Oh yeah.
I thought they got
It's
better
gotten
about
worse.
that.
No, 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 no. It has gotten worse. It's really bad. Um. Anyway,
Okay.
so one, like that is enough that you just don't. Um. Two, their policy around ad blocking, etc., because they, you know, make their money by serving ads. It's not going to get into that whole thing right here and right now. But generally speaking, I am against that many different things all under one umbrella. Because you get things like not being able to use an ad blocker on Chrome. And if you are using the modern internet without an ad blocker, well, first of all, you're an idiot. Second of all, you probably have a bad experience. Third of all, enjoy your viruses.
So what would you recommend for something that's like I'm trying to go for light. And also, here's another reason. One, I just ordered a new computer, but I was using my iPad Pro before, so I'm like, I pulled out this 2014 MacBook Air, and I was like, let me get used to working on a computer again. It's obviously very old. It's slow. And I'm like running essentially the four different Google Workspace accounts that I have on four different Google Chrome tabs logged into
Okay, to be
each of
fair,
them.
I do use Google Chrome for the workspaces because we're going through Google Suite and it just makes things
And
easier. But I do
that was
resent
the
it.
thought. That was the
Yeah.
thought. The thought
No, if
was
you're running it for that, that's fine. I'm going to mute myself for a second because I am recovering from sickness and I need to blow my nose.
okay.
Carry on.
No, like the thought was okay, Safari, funny enough, on this 2014 MacBook, on whatever the last version that this computer would take of the OS, um, does not jive super well with Chrome, or sorry, with Safari. Like it works, but it is a very slow experience. On this computer, Chrome is, I mean, it's not running fast, but it is holding four pages with maybe like 20 tabs open at once, which it has whatever. I turned on the memory saver where like it tries to pause.
Yeah,
Uh,
the tabs if you're not on them,
yeah,
which is helpful.
but could I haven't tried. I've never had this many Google Workspaces to juggle between things that we're working on. Uh, on when my new machine arrives, I'm wondering if I could just have four different web pages open and just be on like their profiles, like the Safari version of it, and log into Google from there, and just keep those open to be able to juggle. Because what I don't like doing is shuffling in the same browser window between the accounts.
No, I have a different account, or I have a different profile for all of these. And I would keep multiple of those stuff if needed. But I do
And
like
this
my primary browsing and primary all of that on Firefox.
and this all comes from our like data hygiene conversation on just keeping. I don't think we had that being recorded. It was more just us talking about how if you're not a stickler for keeping things in their lane early when it's super easy to do it, then you will most definitely not do it when it's harder to do it.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to like more intentionally go and be like, okay, that password or that login there, on Feather, if in it like in the potential exit, like that needs to be going to somebody else, and it's not. You don't want to have to like pull this apart when it's all just been like
Mhm.
caked into one account. So that's at least was the thought process. But didn't know that it was trash. I just thought it was subpar.
I mean, it's probably subpar more than trash. I just,
You just
like
the
hyperbole and
extremes.
dislike Google right now.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I get you. It's like it's the windows either all the way up or all the way down. We don't do it in the middle.
I think so.
Okay. We were going to talk
Are
about
you,
this.
hold on.
What?
No, whatever we're going to talk about doesn't matter. Are you
Okay,
a
sorry.
Windows up person or a Windows down person when you're driving? Or like for fun,
Um.
when you're driving for fun.
Oh, for fun? For fun, it's windows down. Always, it's
Yeah.
windows down, especially in my car. And if it's
Okay.
cold, that just means it's windows down, heater on. And if it's really cold, it's
Ooh, I
windows
like that.
down, heater on, heated seats on. Because there is nothing quite like it's like the driving version of having like a cold ice cream that has like hot fudge that is still hot on it, and you get
Mhm.
like a cold and hot bite at the same time, and you're just like, I know that this will reach an equilibrium and it will not be as good as it is right now, but in the brief moment that there is this imbalance, it is phenomenal. That is driving when cold with the windows down and the heater on and heated seats. That is just like chef's kiss, amazing. Um, and I know it's not for everybody, but that is that like through the hills here, up in like by the coast. Oh my god, that's phenomenal.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
what about you?
No, I am a Windows down all the time. And
Okay,
when Lauren is not in the car, she does not like the Windows down. Um,
neither
but
does
I get like
Jen.
the long hair thing. But to be fair, when I had long hair, I loved having the Windows down because it's just like,
I think it comes more
um,
from like the amount of time that the hair had been worked on.
yeah, that's fair. I think also like my hair is very curly when it's long and very like
That too.
its best case is like this is just going to be like arbitrarily incredibly messy and like
Yep.
that's just like the look and so it worked for me because it was like oh you just got up or you just went through like 20 miles of winding roads with the windows down or you spent an hour and a half trying to make your hair good. It's all the same and so like it made
Yeah.
it a lot easier for me, which makes sense. But no, I love having the windows down. Okay, windows down with rain, perfect. That little bit of rain just kind of spraying into the car.
Ooh.
And look,
Wait.
your car is not a
How?
car I would do that with. My car is a car that like is just filled with
Yeah.
like salt and sand and dirt and like
Okay. Because
it
I was
it's a
like, how
camping car.
logistically, how do you work that out? Because you're gonna get water in the car.
Yeah, you just get water in the car.
Oh, okay. Nope. That's where I can't get water in the car. I don't even keep like wrappers of trash in the car. I'm not keeping
You would
water in the car.
I'm actually not sure that you ever have been in my car now that I think about it because I feel like you would just like get hives immediately.
I've been in your car, didn't we? We went to go get pizza that one time when you were up here,
Then my
remember?
car was in Lawrence.
Oh, it might have been. It was the black car.
No, 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 okay, that was fine. Okay,
That
great.
was
You
yours.
did then.
It's
Well,
fine. I
you were
can, you
probably
know.
sitting in like 2 inches of dried seawater. Um,
Love that. I love
yeah.
that so much. I'm thinking to myself, driving through the canyons when it's raining with the windows down, the speed that I'd have to be going to not worry about the rain getting in the car
No, no, no.
is not a
No,
speed
you
you
got to
want to
go
be
the
going.
speed that you're going to make sure that the rain gets in.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Okay,
That's
yeah, that's great.
okay. Anyways,
And this is
uh,
why you drive a fun car that is pretty and fancy, and I drive a fun car that looks like absolute shit. Are you allowed to swear on this podcast? I don't remember.
we are. Yeah, we are.
Great.
It's fine.
It looks like fucking shit. And that's great because
Okay.
then I don't have to worry about
I'm just gonna preface that my fancy car is a Miata. It is not that fancy.
it. I don't know what a fancy car is. It looks fancy. I'm not
Well,
a car person.
I appreciate that. It's an enthusiast car. We'll call that. We'll call it that. It's like like a category outside of fancy and not fancy because you can have enthusiast cars at all levels. So it's a car for car people. Anyways, what we were going to talk about, or the thing that we were like, ooh, this is interesting. Ryan, tell me about the interesting world of parking at your college campus.
Okay, this was great because we had that conversation, and then I realized that I had in fact forgotten to pay for parking because I was in such a rush out there. And I went back
And
and I did not have a ticket. You want to know why? Because they were
why?
not efficient at enforcing their tickets.
I hope you filed a
Um,
complaint to then tell them that they were supposed to give you a ticket.
Dear sir or madam, please take my money. No, so, we started having this conversation because right now, I am going through an MBA program at UCSD, which has, oh, I don't remember where those numbers are. Do I actually, I saw that. This is going to go right into the middle of the screen. Okay, great. It's going to be a real messy video as every time I pull up a window, it drops right into the middle of the video.
That's good. Then
Um,
I don't have to edit it in afterwards.
Great. Well, anyway, uh, we have approximately, no, I don't want to approximate. I want to find the actual right number. We have this conversation.
We had it in
Oh,
Slack. I can
that
pull it up.
20 long thread. Okay, no. Okay.
Okay.
So there are approximately, there's 18,904 spaces, approximately.
Okay.
Uh, Currently, at UCSC, this is actually a lie. It's not current. It was last quarter. I don't know why the space amount varies so much quarter to quarter. Like if they're just like painting over spaces, but literally someone has data for it and it goes quarter by quarter and it like changes several hundred per quarter.
Really?
Very weird. Um,
Okay.
okay, so like 18,000 spaces at UCSD. And I was coming in, driving in, and saw these guys, basically checking cars. So we use like Park Mobile or something, right? Some app that we like pay a little bit of money for, and everything's on the phone, and you don't have to like deal with finding your car, like the
Which in
number below
theory
or
is a
whatever.
solution that the campus paid for to help enforce its parking.
They're absolute. Oh, I mean, they are definitely paying for the solution. I imagine
Okay.
they're also probably paying some portion of parking enforcement on top of that to this. I don't know. I might be making this
Sure.
up. Maybe they just pay a flat fee, but if I were Park Mobile, that's not how I would do it. Park Mobile, if you want to defend yourself, come on our podcast. Um, we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna call someone out who's like actually like big cheese, and
Yeah.
they're gonna actually come on. It's gonna be great.
That's gonna be great. That's gonna yeah, be more inflammatory, Ryan. I think we're the first people to invent that. Inflammatory remarks on the internet get traction.
Certainly. Um,
Let's write that down. Write that down.
business idea: be mean.
Okay.
Anyhow, when I got there, there were like three. By the way, there were like all three people on one phone checking this, so like really inefficient. I'm sure that in a normal situation, it would be one person with one phone going by, and they had to
Yeah.
stop and like look at the license plate number on the car, type it into their app, and then it told them whether or not they were like paying for parking or whether they needed a ticket or if they were in the wrong type of spot or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they went on to the next one, did the same thing. It was taking generously 30 seconds, probably closer to a minute per license plate.
Oh, and that's assuming that that person is working like a robot at a measurable, predictable speed. People fatigue. People get distracted. Like that.
100%.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, but like, let's take this like really loose. We're going to be really generous in this kind of thing that I had worked out. So, 18,904 spaces approximately. Um, there we go.
Mhm.
Which, assuming, let's just make an assumption that everybody drives in to school at the beginning of the day and parks there for the entire time that it's open,
Okay.
right? We're making ridiculous assumptions here. If we get 1/2 of 1% of those people generating a ticket in a day,
Yeah.
standard parking ticket, there's like a bunch of different types. The standard one at UCSC is $80. It's like 7.5K a day in parking
Yeah.
tickets.
if the system were at 100% enforcement,
If it were at 100% enforcement, absurd levels of like no turnover.
which there is naturally, but
Yeah, so I assume like in reality, probably cycle that out twice a day.
yeah, there's probably a push pull between the amount of cycles and then the amount of people that are like the ticket percentage or the total addressable people that should be getting a ticket, like because if you cycle over, you increase the odds, but you also decrease the people that are
Not
going
to
to get the
actually
straight like
catching
ran out of
someone.
time
Yeah,
ticket. So like I think there's a push pull between the two, and yeah, you could just work off of those, like you said, the 0.5% for a single day kind of thing.
yeah. So let's just assume 0.5% of spaces in a single
Yeah,
day generate $80
sure.
parking
Yeah,
ticket.
yeah,
7.5K a day, right?
yeah,
Um, approximately.
approximately.
Uh, so we were talking about this idea of like, okay, that's a lot of money coming in a day for those parking lots for
Sure.
essentially doing very little work, right? Which is just existing, and because it's like school, it's not specifically there to like they're not trying to make money off their parking spaces. You do have to pay to park, but like that's not their intended goal. It's not like it's a
Sure.
parking lot downtown. Um, so like they're already generating all that. This is just extra revenue. This is parking enforcement revenue.
Yeah.
Um, you could sit down and you could rent a robot for like $1,000 a month, right? You don't need
Yeah.
anything fancy. You just are looking to basically do what those people are doing faster, better, cheaper.
Yeah.
And so that someone doesn't have to walk around like all
You really
there's
need like
like
one of those
70 different parking lots or something on campus.
you need like those little robot guys, those little ones
Robot.
that deliver food.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you put like a camera on the top on a swivel, uh, or even when
You
we
don't need a
were,
swivel, just get one of the 360s.
I guess yeah, hang on, yeah, like when we were talking about this, I even looked, and there are solutions that address this issue. For like larger lots, there's ones where like you could put it at like a very high pole and it maps out every spot and starts like a timer when a car pulls in with computer vision, and then only like deploys the person to go write the ticket when it notes that a car has been there too long, so that there's no need to like manually check. There's also ones that are attached to cars that have like those sensors where as long as they drive by slowly, it'll read the plate, cross-reference the system, and then alert the driver when to stop to write a ticket. I'm going to assume that that in between step, you have the people paying for parking, and the mapping of the parking, and then you have kind of like the validation of who paid for what, and then the link between those that automates that is the expensive bit, which is probably why they didn't do it, and they probably just are relying on the people to then
Yeah.
connect those two pieces together,
Well, the
which is
hardware, right? Like having to go build a pole and power a
yeah.
camera in the middle of your lot, like it's not
Yeah,
insignificant.
or like retrofitting a like a patrol vehicle with those scanners
Yeah.
kind of thing. But if you pre-deployed these, you could take those robots, like you said, like those little robot guys,
Yep.
and they just bolt on existing software. Like you said, it already exists to drive by and scan and cross-reference if people use the app. And all it
Hmm.
would do is it's just like one per lot or something, and
You don't need one per lot.
I
One per
guess
lot would
depending
get
on the
expensive,
layout.
but again in our scenario, we're imagining a human being looking at every space once in the day,
Yeah,
which I'm sure doesn't happen. 18,000, 19,000 spaces essentially, right? Like everyone is not, or
no,
every space is not looked at once. Um, so like
no.
you don't need a robot per. You need a robot that goes through a parking lot 3 times a day, maybe 4 times a day. So you can get a robot
Well,
that's going parking lot to parking lot to parking lot.
yeah. I mean, you could also like this is a like retrofit solution. But I've also seen lots spend the money to do those like little like plates in each spot that like have a sensor to know when there's a car on top of it or not. Like, yeah, it would be
That's
more of a pain in
expensive.
the
Like putting all that
well,
in is huge.
but theoretically you would just have to do that once and then you plug it into your normal system, and then if they're paying with the app, they can be emailed a ticket through the app, and then you get rid of the person at all or anything that roams around those lots. So I guess it would just come down to seeing what the implementation cost of all of those pucks would be and the connection, as opposed to getting those robots are probably going to be a cheaper alternative. Um,
Oh, you'd have to get, you'd have to put so much up front. You'd have to do so much like physical infrastructure work
you
to get
would
all that in, especially if you're not, again, like this is not a downtown parking lot whose entire existence is like about making money for parking.
no,
This is
yeah, they're not.
literally just an enforcement action to make sure that you're not like taking up their space all day and, kind of extra money in the bank on top.
Yeah, I guess that'd be the only value prop to the schools if it were a way to potentially increase the policing of it at a relatively low additional cost, or even the
Yeah. So like
same, depending on what those people cost.
oh, much, much less. I looked, I actually did not look how much they're getting paid, but $20 an hour in San Diego is probably a reasonable assumption. 18 to 20. Um, so like if they were checking, it essentially to check all of those spaces, it's about 160 man hours in a day to check
Oh man,
once. So that ends up being about it's 3.15K, $3,150 a day just to pay people to walk around and check your parking lots. Um, like 95K a month, right? You're spending
yeah.
almost $100,000 a month on parking enforcement, assuming that
Well,
they're
and you're
checking all this. I'm sure they weren't.
and you're still not getting you're not getting 100% of that enforcement.
No, absolutely not. And so like you sit down and like, what if you had 20 robots? You're renting for $1,000 a month,
Yeah,
right? It's 20K in a month. You're basically having every robot is responsible for 1,000 cars. It's like 3 to 5 lots depending on the size. Um, and it just goes through. You have the 360-degree camera. So you spend, the time to go through the lot at 5 miles an hour, see a car coming, you just
yeah,
pull
and
over,
if it's
whatever.
one of those little ones that is meant to deliver food, they could go onto the sidewalk and traverse lots.
Exactly. And that's what I'm thinking. Is it's safe to
Yeah,
traverse lots. You don't have to worry about all the things that you would with like an actual person driving through. You don't have to worry about things you would with like a self-driving car driving it, right? Like what's the
true.
damage a robot like that is going to do? It's nothing. And so you get 20 of those, you throw them around, and instead of maybe seeing half of the spaces in a day, you're seeing every space 3 to 5 times a day easy, right?
Yeah,
And so basically, like, again, I did this very, very generous math where I assumed that the humans were seeing every space once a day. Um, and they're making, that ends up being about 226K a month in revenue from parking enforcement.
yeah,
And you're either paying 20K a month to do that, or you're paying 95K a month to do that.
yeah. That's
In reality, you're actually probably making half of that at best, right? So in reality, you're probably paying 95K a month to make 100K a month.
you think it's that bad?
Or, oh, I'm sure it's that, yeah. I
Wow,
was in that
Ryan,
lot. I was in that lot for
yeah,
3.5, no, for 4 hours,
yeah.
and I did not get ticketed.
Can we
If you're
pitch this
from
to a
UCSD
school?
parking enforcement, please do not listen to this episode. We should put a warning at the front that this episode is inappropriate for parking enforcement officers.
Could we pitch this to them, Ryan? Are they receptive to improvements in their parking?
Honestly, if we wanted to do this, especially if it like is coming out of their entrepreneurship
Oh,
program,
they can
like they
have this
would
idea.
they would love it. No, 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 no. We should. I no. I don't want to deal with this one. I don't want to deal with hardware. Two. This is so deeply uninteresting. It's so
That's
boring to me.
that's that's why I'm like you, the numbers, especially when it's like not their core business, be like, hey, you can save some money over here and make a little bit more. And they'd be like, yeah, why not? Like,
I mean, just for enforcement, you're looking at like a delta between the two case scenario at like $1 million a month, right?
yeah,
Probably closer to like $2 million, or sorry,
but you
a
sell
year,
it to
$2 million
them.
dollars a year.
You get them on as a like a they pay for the dev and they'll get it like at cost, and then you basically bring them in like like a joint venture. And once you prove out the model with their 18,000 spots, you go and you basically like duplicate this at any other lot that needs help with enforcement that has not been retrofitted or has not been built with that system. And you do like a rev share deal with the school to say, hey, you got to pilot it, you paid for the dev, we'll do like a 60-40 split. It's super uninteresting, but you hire a salesperson to go around and demo it. They can come to the campus, they can see it working. You go to, I don't know, you go to like the San Diego Zoo or SeaWorld or anywhere around there that has a big open lot that needs
To every
retrofitting on the
lot,
spots.
and you go to every school, and you go to every like sports arena.
Yeah, you just hire like a commission salesperson and you split it with the school.
Yeah, it's not pretty, and you would not need to split nearly that.
Well,
It would
I'm
be
just
nothing near that much. But like, I
I'm
assume
just
that we don't care and we want to be really generous. Like, 100% you could do that, and
like if
like
there's a lot of
that's
dev cost because of the hardware and they're willing to front it because it's like a shiny thing they get to tote around. Like what? Like again, not yeah, it's like deeply uninteresting, but I mean it's pretty solid.
no, it's very solid. I mean, like
We're making the world a better place.
by giving people tickets
Disrupting.
because they forgot to pay their parking ticket, or
It's
not parking ticket,
parking
parking fee.
reimagined.
We can do like, okay, imagine like we start the commercial. It's like the bullshit 2010 ukulele and glockenspiel, right? Like real Apple
Yeah.
2010 sound. Like sun rises. You watch this little old lady get out of like a handicap spot and like struggle to get over the curb in a walker. See a robot just go by, slap a ticket. We're making the world a better place.
No, Ryan, no. What you do is that you have that old lady have to park way in the back because there was nobody enforcing the parking diligently enough so that the handicap spot was available to her. If only there was an automated telecom enabled system that could cite a illegal parker in a handicap spot, then call the tow company automatically and have the car towed. That sweet old lady is we make sure that she has a spot in the front. That's
Making the world a better
well the better
place.
place, Ryan. Come on.
There you go. I wasn't seeing it from the right perspective.
Yeah, yeah. You're being cynical about it, but you know, I think that you gotta there's a way to spin it. Uh do you know is anybody doing hardware in your cohort?
People with some robotics experience, I believe. We definitely have people with medical hardware experience. Um,
This is almost like I don't want to say it's like too easy, but it's like it's developed technology. It's not
no, you
like
know who has right? You know why I remember that someone has robotics?
why?
Julian has done robotic stuff.
Oh, he has.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh well, hey, this
he
is
did like computer vision for like I think like deep sea auto
what he did
what's it?
computer vision stuff.
Yeah,
Did you show him True
Nick,
Tone?
Nick, 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 Nick. No, we have too many startups just ready to go. We've already got one going. It's happy.
Did you show
It's
him?
moving
Did you
forward.
show him True Tone?
No, I have not. I have not shown him True Tone yet.
Okay.
We can talk about
Well,
it later.
I'm gonna show him the Lucid charts to get his 2 cents on it though. At some point,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
he's
for
done
sure.
computer vision, but this is
I
like
think it's mostly been for like autonomous navigation. So like it's much more
oh,
in
it's
the
more
like
relevant for this than it is for color matching.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, well then great, he can do this parking thing. This is his
Great.
initiation into how we work. We got one
Is
thing going into pre-seed. So now we need the next thing to be in the ideation phase.
Look, if you're not working on seven things, are you really working?
You
And if you're
already
not
book your
working, are
next
you really
movie
living?
before your first movie comes out.
All right, Mr. Hollywood.
It's from Entourage. We're rewatching it.
Right. You
That's
told me I should watch that. I probably might.
you, yeah. It's boy, it's real. It's real. It's real for how Hollywood was. They've talked about rebooting it, which I would be very curious to see how they write a show like showing what Hollywood is now post all of the things that have happened since then.
What are the things that have happened here?
I mean, well, there was the Me Too movement. There was
Good old
uh,
Harv.
a lot of unionization. Yeah, like unironically, there is a Harvey Weinstein character in Entourage because at the time he was a very big distributor, but they played him like exactly how he is, and
Mhm.
you at the time it was edgy, and you watch that now and you're like, shit.
Yeah,
We were just we were just we were just chill. We were just oh my gosh, that guy. He can pick
you
the
know.
Oscar movies, so we'll just kind of let him do what he wants. Oh man. Okay. Anyways, well, okay.
All that is to say, for one school, we could make, I don't know, I'm gonna throw it out there. We take 10% of what we're charging them. It's like $250,000 a year. How many schools are there?
Oh, a lot. Like, are you talking about just like
200.
colleges?
Yeah, I mean, I'm even thinking just like larger state schools. Um,
Let's see. California, just
okay,
California.
16, uh, 1,626 state schools, public colleges.
Yeah. California has 339 colleges and universities. If you're just looking for
That
I
is
guess
a
like
full 406 million at 100%, at 100%, oh my God, what is the word? Penetration. My brain was just like, it's
yeah,
not going to happen today.
which
At
again,
100% penetration, which, great, cut it in half and assume that you're not only selling to schools. Comfortable, comfortable 250 million a year.
oh yeah, easy. And then what you do is that because you get the school involved in the like ideation and you bring them in on the upside, is that I know that colleges have a lot of what is it called? They're connected internally between
Yeah.
them. So there is because I even know that there's like a there's like a tuition exchange. Even I heard a story of a friend of Janae's, like this older guy. He was like, "Oh yeah, well I used to teach here. So then when my daughter wanted to go to Pepperdine, we reached out to their faculty and they had an exchange. So they gave her a full scholarship because then when one of their people wanted to go to our school, we gave them a full scholarship. It was some kind of like
Rad.
it was like
That's
some
super
kind of
cool.
like so I know that there is a lot of interfacing between
Yeah.
colleges. So if you tie upside to getting more penetration among colleges, then like UCSD can like tout this as like a homegrown thing that like check it out for your college and like they can sell it. And it's now like a warm intro as opposed to being some outside vendor. So you could possibly get a good percentage of that penetration, especially just within the California system.
All right.
Brian, this is a really good idea. God damn
No.
it.
And the problem is, it's not even a good idea. It's like an okay and pretty boring idea. And like, all it takes is time and some operating.
Okay, now what if,
This is why I want to get the founders roundtable going because like
yeah,
I'm not gonna do this. I don't care. Like someone else should go make money off
here,
this. Like it would be
well,
great to just grab someone, be like, go find some people. We'll like talk it out and like
and
get
that's
everyone together and
post,
trade these all out.
and that's what I want to do when we're in a position post exit to be able to like ideate or like incubate and be like, here's this great idea, you go and then do it. And then like whatever, even if you're going to be super generous and you're like, okay, take what we were going to get and cut it in half, but I cut you guys in and then you ran with it and then you brought it in. And now it's like half and half and half and half and half. And we're able to work on 5, 6 things at a time realistically because it's not actually just us working on the 5 or 6 things. It's like 5 or 6 teams that then we kind of regroup. But that might be something too in the short term if you know people that we could sell this to.
You cut out. No, have I lost you? My internet died. We're still recording. Wait a minute. Oh, man, my internet really died. All right, Nick, please cut this part out. I'm gonna try to give you some stuff to find into those waveforms.
Hey,
Hello, can you hear me?
yeah, you dropped out there for a second.
Yeah, no, my internet, like uh, the entire 5G band of my internet just died.
Oh, well, that's not good.
Yeah, I clapped a couple times so you can go find it in the waveforms. Otherwise, you're just gonna like watch me staring confusedly at my computer for a while and then go, my internet died.
Okay, actually, let me do a clap because it's easier to see it on the waveform. So I'm just going to do it back. Um,
That did not
okay,
come through at all because you.
okay, you do it.
Okay, this should be
Okay.
it.
Anyways, as I was saying, like this could if you knew somebody, this could potentially be like a, hey, you go do that thing, and then bring it back, and we'll like work on it together. But I,
I don't even
I don't
care
know.
if they bring it back. Just go do the thing. So, I mean, here's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
there's so many smart people who are sitting around not doing something because they're like, well, I don't have an idea yet. And it's like, you don't need an idea. Like, we can figure this out. Like, ideas are so cheap. Ideas are free. Like, go on the internet, get someone who's spouting a dumb idea, like we're sitting here spouting a dumb idea, take it and go run.
yeah.
And if I can just sit
Honestly,
in a room and spout dumb ideas at people for, I don't know, like an hour, and
yeah.
great. If I can get other people to also spout dumb ideas, and we
What are
all
you
sit around talking about dumb ideas, someone's going to get something.
What are you doing with the roundtable?
I need to do another one. Just with getting sick, I kind of didn't near the end, and I hadn't ended on like maybe like the first week, starting it up again. So I want to do that again. I was talking to DJ White, who is he's doing the Cytodine thing.
Okay,
So he was up in San Francisco with Ken, his co-founder, last weekend, um,
okay. What are they
and
doing?
they're raising right now
Oh, okay, got it, got it.
and potentially looking for a co-founder. Um, but anyway, I was talking to him and he said he'd be interested in coming, and I think it would be good to get people from the other cohort and like, especially people who've been doing things for a bit and just kind of get some juices going and get people to like, what was the thing you
Yeah,
sent me where it was like start at 40, start in November, start at just fucking start. They really needed to add
yeah,
fucking in there because it really does have to be just fucking start. Don't wait for someone. Don't
yeah,
ask permission. Just do it. It's gonna fail. It's
yeah.
gonna suck, and who gives a shit? Just start.
I feel like I felt like I really felt like an old man seeing something on a news feed. It was on LinkedIn, and I was like, I'm gonna send that to Ryan, and I like screenshotted it, and I was like, he'll
No, no,
know.
what you needed to do was like put it on your computer and take a picture of the screenshot and then send me a very blurry picture of an already very blurry picture
I should do that.
with the flash on.
Anyways, and in the reflection of the screen, like I'm just very clearly not wearing a shirt. What is this? This was, yeah, it's a like a poster says start in November, start in your 40s, start on Friday, start at 5, start on the 31st, start late, start.
Like,
Oh,
to be honest, like
what?
it's not like that's easy, right? Like that's hard. And I was that person who needed to hear that so much until you came in and you started doing Ryan, we're doing this. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? And then we were doing it, and then there were like seven of those things, and I was like, oh, I guess we just do things now. But
It's
like 100%, it's a mindset that is hard to get into, and I think you need to push, which is why I'm trying to push people into it. I'm trying to just like
yeah,
kind of bully people into like just
it's
starting because they're smart, they've got good ideas, like just fucking go.
it's like this, yeah, it's like this idea that like before you start something, it's always perfect in your mind. And the moment you start, it stops being perfect and starts being real. And all of a sudden, it's not that thing in your head anymore. And if sometimes people are such a perfectionist, they'd rather not do it at all than to do an imperfect version of it. But in reality, anything that has anything near perfection has been iterated 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And that, like, I made the first time I tried something and it like didn't work out, like spectacularly didn't work out. I like you feel shitty for like a day, and then afterwards you're like, oh, I think I see why that didn't pan out. I'm gonna make sure that I don't do that. And I remembered to like really hold on to that feeling of like the day after you fail at something when you're like, oh, but I'm still like motivated. I still have good ideas. Like that just didn't work out. Um, is like that I don't know, that was a big like unlock for me, is to just hang on to that feeling in the same way that like when you want something and you want like a thing so bad and you're just like, oh, I need to have this thing. And if you remember like a little kid, you're like, I got to get that thing, like that thing will complete me. And at some point, like I started to just like an aha moment, I just thought of myself already having that thing after having a lot of things that didn't really, you know, fulfill that piece in my life like I thought it was going to, because it's not, it's just a thing. I thought about having that thing already in my mind, and I like really just like visualized a day of having that thing already and putting it down because I've already like played with it or used it or what have you. And then you're like, wow, I actually don't think I need that. Like,
Hmm.
and that's been, I mean, those two, that one is more in the financial end, but like being like thinking about what it feels like after you failed, where you're like, I'm gonna pick myself back up, and you're like, no, we can still fucking get this, like let's do it. That's the feeling that I hang on to at the beginning of something. So it's not even like oh, maybe it'll fail, maybe it won't. We're doing it because it's a good idea and we're going to execute on it. And that's just, if it didn't, it's just closer to the next thing that will hit.
It's interesting because like people talk about like in the startup world you're trying to do something that is incredibly unlikely to happen, right? Like I'm sure there I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, like however whatever percent
It's
fails
like
in the first like year
1%
and
or
five
something
years.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
something
it's
like
something
that.
incredibly low, like actually makes it to like a reasonably profitable exit and like
Yeah.
whatever. It doesn't matter what the exact is. The point is like it's very, 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 very small. And like there's like this whole mantra in the startup world about like you have to believe it. You have to go in as a founder and wholly believe in yourself. And it's like that's true, but more you need to take the same actions as though you believed in yourself wholly and that you know that this impossible thing is going to happen. Because I think there's a very reasonable approach of like doing a thing and being like, I know what I'm doing is probably going to fail and I don't give a shit. I'm going to do it anyway because I'm going to make it
But still
happen. And
believing
then
in
if it
you.
doesn't happen, right? No, no, you are still believing in you, but you're also believing
Yeah.
in you in a way that you're like, and if it fails, then there's the next thing. It's not, it's that thing
Yeah.
where it's like, if 100 of them are going to fail, that just means fucking go do 100 of them, right? Like, and so
Yeah.
that's the idea where like you don't have to be unrealistically believing in yourself. You need to be realistically
No.
believing in yourself and then go have a bunch of bad ideas and try them
Here
until you get something that sticks.
to iterate on that, I think that even if I can dive into something and truly care about it to the point where like you're believing in it almost to a naive level because somebody has to believe it that much when it's nothing to sell for that to be infectious to other people that see your belief in it. I can I don't tie that belief into my self-worth. So even if I believe in something 110% and they're like, wow, you're a fanatic about it, if it doesn't end up panning out, it's like I believed in it in that moment, in that time when we were doing that. And I don't regret that that happened. I don't think less of myself because I believed in it. Um, but I do think that some people maybe will tie that in with their own personal self-worth and they
Yeah.
go like, well, maybe I have bad opinions because I believe in that too much, so I won't get too attached to anything. But then you come off like you're just in it for the money or you don't really care, and then you become one of those like hacker bros that's building a landing page or the 100th fucking habit tracker, launching it on a SaaS whatever nonsense with blockchain, and you're like, do we need another fucking habit tracker? Like, is that some kind of test that people do in coding class because everybody seems to be making it? You're like your heart's not in it. You're just kind of like doing the motions of being an entrepreneur and like getting out there. But like
That's what I'm saying is
those,
your heart can be in a thing, even if you know it's probably going to fail.
it
You have to
it
believe.
can
You
it
have to.
can.
You have to
I
be okay with the beauty of failure.
my no, and I am. My hypothesis though is that if you started with that like burning passion to solve a problem or see something through, you would make decisions that would lead you to a place where you would never be building a habit tracker on a landing page with a paywall that's backed by blockchain. I just don't feel like you would make decisions that would lead you to that. And the mere fact that people can say and think that they're believing it wholeheartedly but all end up in the very same place tells me that maybe they don't. Maybe I'm wrong and like that there is enough of like like a cosmic kind of pattern in that like those people genuinely believe that to their core and they're all making this habit tracker. But like
I
I
have a spicy
imagine
take here, Nick. I think there's a lot of very boring people who really do deeply to their core care about the 150th habit tracker on the App
God,
Store.
you look at Blue Sky and people are just like, I'm finally gonna launch, I'm finally gonna this, and then they show you it and you're like, oh man, guys, this is like the same habit tracker I just saw somebody else coding, the same one I saw somebody else coding, and they're like, oh no, but mine goes this way and theirs went that way, so that's how we're gonna change the world. And you're like, oh, I have, you know, $100 MRR, and I'm like, okay, great,
Right?
like
Enjoy.
I don't know. Google's not going to be coming knocking on your door to buy your habit tracker. I don't know. That's a
What?
side. That's a
I,
what?
no. Go ahead. Sorry, finish.
I was just like, I feel like I've made personally different decisions when I'm into something like all the way, and I'm like, I'm not. It's not tied to my self worth, but if for the time in the life where I'm working on it, it's part of my identity, like being part of a startup kind of thing, and I'm making decisions towards the future of that startup and like decisions from a place where I like genuinely give a shit. And if I didn't, I would be making decisions that to me more closely resemble other people I see building that are just kind of like iterating on each other in an echo chamber.
I think you need to be able to separate genuinely giving a shit about something and having an unrealistic belief about its success.
Mm,
And like, I want to be
yeah,
clear here.
yeah.
I think that you can. I think that that mantra works. Like, you can be someone who wholly and truly believes in something that is impossibly difficult, and you can make it happen. Because if a 1 in a million thing happens every million times, and there's a million people making stupid shit. Um,
Yeah.
but like, and there's even a million people making brilliant things, right? And so one of them is going to be successful just by the odds of it. Um, don't come at me, statisticians. I don't want to hear it. But like, I that is a thing, and I'm okay with that. And I'm not saying like that is a bad thing. But I also think that there needs to be more room in the startup world for realism, and realism knowing that you are making, like, going open-eyed into something and saying, I am taking a risk. The risk that I am taking is the next 2 years of my life. The payoff of this risk is incredibly high, but the likelihood of it actually occurring is very, very low. And that is okay if you are intentionally choosing to make that risk and going into it
Yeah.
open eyed, because it makes you
Do
a
you think
realist. But you
do you
can
think
still
there's
do it. The
people that
thing
are
is, I think that
going in
most
that
people hear or see when you talk about that is they go
yeah.
in and they say, you are making, you don't believe 100% that this thing is going to work. So you're not going to try as hard as you could, or you're not going to act as though it will be successful.
Well, that
And I think that that is something that happens, but I also believe that this, like, sort of, again, the mantra of, like, you have to be unrealistically believing in yourself turns away a lot of people who frankly would be very good operators. People who would be good at not having their head in the clouds, who would take boring as shit ideas like making money in a parking lot and actually make that happen. Like, there's so much room there, and we
yeah.
turn away people like that all the time. But honestly, as much as I love the really crazy big swings, life would be so much better. I mean, not a parking lot thing, right? Like, that is, jokes aside, that's not making the world a better place. But there are so many small things where you can make the world a better place that are not interesting. They're not exciting, right? It's the like the equivalent of, like, the engineering where they're like, hey, we put a rope inside of this barrier on the street, and now people die 1% less of the time that they crash into it once every 10 years, and it's like, that's incredible. I want those people founding
Well, yeah,
startups.
that might be that's like a bad habit that like trickles back through to VCs, and VCs being like so skittish with their money that they're like any like flinching and they're like, you're not all in, you're wasting my money, kind of
I think that
thing.
they're looking for the wrong signals.
Well, yeah, they are. But to be fair, if you're looking for if the if people that are generally leading big companies are like a little bit out there, I see the kernel of like you want to find those people that are kind of out there because they're going to want to see the forest through the trees. Like I get that, but that should be just a subset of venture. And correct, I, mean, I feel like you would know it more between the two of us, but like, are there just like there are firms that have different thesi, uh,
Mhm.
is theses, um, is there are there firms who have a thesis that is like we want 1,000 boring businesses that are going to change the world? Is there anybody doing that?
I mean, there could be, and I don't know. Like, venture isn't super my world. It's just a little bit more than yours, but it's not
Yeah,
something I'm like super super
because
deep into.
that
And
would be
probably
really
not. No, like,
interesting.
if you think about the way that like venture talks, and like, it's very much set up that, like, you're doing that because you're trying to make outsized return on your investments, right? Like, otherwise
Yeah.
you're just going to go put it in the stock market and leave it there forever. Um, but like, this is a place where I think that there is room to say, like, what
Yeah.
if I wanted the same boring returns that I got out of the stock market from being in it for 30 years? And what if, instead of giving, whatever subset of public companies
Yeah.
your money, like, if you invested in a bunch of boring businesses, a bunch of like small entrepreneurial things, right? Like, I want like a serviceable, attainable market of like $10 million, and I have a
And this is
thousand of
like
those.
this has a lot of alignment with what we talked about last episode about my like maximum uh revenue company that is treated like a bond. It's the same thing. It's a realignment of incentives where if ventures incentives are not just outsized return, but are like a 3 to 5% return while making the world genuinely a better place. Now you
I
have
think that
this
this
like
isn't venture anymore, though, right? This is something else, and that's okay. Like, this
yeah,
should
but
exist,
I
and
think you use the
it
language.
probably does. I'm sure this exists somewhere, and we don't know about
I'm
it.
sure, yeah. but
but
it's not
like
happening at a
this could be
scale
like
that
a
has
whole
enough
class of thing. And the
visibility.
way that we talk about VCs is like as a class
Well,
of
and
investors, right? And the way
you
that we
just
talk about
mentioned
people.
your school doesn't let those people in. And to your point, like they're getting sorted out before they even
I
start.
didn't say my school didn't let people in.
Oh, didn't you
Okay.
say you said let
No,
in? Sorry, I thought you meant at your school.
no. I mean VC in general,
Oh, in venture in
right?
general.
They're
Okay.
looking, yeah.
Yeah.
But like that's what I'm
Uh
saying is like what if there was this whole other class that was just like here and like gonna do boring shit and invest in, over the course of 10 years, 10,000 boring businesses that are gonna make small change and reliably between them because they're not trying to change the world. I don't need to give all of them absurd amounts of pre-seed money.
yeah. Well, you say like that could be the thesis. You'd be like, I want to invest in 10,000 companies that are each going to make the world a fraction of a percent better. So at the end of our thesis, at the completion of our experiment, in theory, if we have done our job, the world will be 100% better because each one contributed a fraction of a percent. And like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's it's a, I mean, pretty gets you riled up. Like it's solid sounding, and you're not saying like we'll donate it. So then you're still making a return. You're just kind of reshuffling the incentive pyramid to not have 200x at the top. It's like it, which there's a reason that not everything goes to that because it's too volatile for a lot of people. I think you might
Not
have to use
volatility, I think is the big part.
the
Yeah.
naming. You might have to use the venture convention naming conventions because I think it'd be too abstract for a lot of people to grab onto if you tried
You
to
know
like
who would
change
be
the name.
really good at really branding this and like figuring out something and like being able to sell this dream?
Who?
You.
Me?
You.
God damn it, Ryan. We just said we weren't going to work on anything else.
All right,
Hang on. Let me make a
put it in the
note.
vault.
Let me make a note. Change
No, seriously, like this is exactly
economy.
the thing that you sell really, really well. This is a really cool vision. And I think there's value to it, and like the creativity that you bring to marketing and bring to messaging and bring to storytelling, like I think gives you a way to do that you're not just trying to trick people into thinking that this is like pill VC.
Yeah, nothing raises more red flags for me than somebody saying chill VC. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm writing a note down, and I am writing down boring as a service. It's gonna be called Bass, and we're gonna have a big shop with only professionals, and we're gonna call it Bass Pro Shop.
Like it.
I'm gonna look up the domain now.
I'm sure it's definitely not someone. Hey, wait, it's definitely not someone pitching.
Hell, well, that doesn't work. It has to be bird related. All of our stuff is bird related.
Oh yeah. No, this won't be because it's boring. The birds are exciting.
Ooh, what's the opposite of a bird?
Uh, I mean, we're gonna get into philosophy here, and I don't want to deal with that. We'll just call it a fish for now. Which, coincidentally,
You heard it here first, everybody. The opposite of a bird is a fish. Ryan is claiming with 100%
stand behind
definitiveness.
that. Yep.
As Feather's legal counsel, he has said that a bird is a fish, is the opposite of a fish. Um, if I can't make it bird related, it's going to be fish related, and we're just going to have two. Oh,
No.
because you know what? Because the fish is like underwater. It's on the surface. There's nothing there, but it's all happening under the surface. And then birds, like a moonshot, are in the
Hmm.
sky. They reach for the moon. There it
Yeah.
is. There it is. There. Well, now there's branding, so now it has to work.
I'm glad, as we all know, once you get branding, it works. It's straight
Yeah,
up.
it's just as Theranos. Um. Okay. Fish.
Oh man, I'm so annoyed at Enron right now.
I
No. Let
I
okay, hold on, hold on, hold on.
I
Listen,
liked the
it's
joke.
brilliant. It's very funny, and
It's
I like
just
that. But it ruins my whole thing where I want to collect like
yeah.
actual flag from like wildly failed brands. I think that's so cool and so fun, and it's
They
already
flooded
like
the market.
getting. Yeah, exactly. There's just like so many Enron shirts now that it like, okay, great, you have an Enron shirt. Um, but like I think that would be just fantastically fun to have a whole collection of all of that. Um, and Enron's really, really important. My worry is that they're gonna do that, and then they're gonna be like, okay, and then our next thing is we're gonna buy fucking Theranos, and then we're gonna, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, it's because the whole thing is like a big marketing stunt, right? Or it's like a social stunt.
It's because you've got a like a satire website or something.
Yeah, he sells merchandise. He's the same guy that
Yeah,
did the Birds Aren't Real.
yeah, exactly. Which is
Yeah, yeah,
great. It's
yeah.
a great marketing stunt. It's
It's
funny.
a
It's
great.
great
I'm gonna
satire.
blow my nose 2 second. You go.
Okay. Now, oh God, I have to riff. I had so many thoughts in my head, and then you asked me to have a thought in my head. Gone.
I'm sure I caught some really profound pieces of scripture right there that I will hear back.
And welcome back to the Not Another Hundred Minutes podcast. Nick, thanks for coming back from the grid in the break. How are you feeling?
Oh man, I'm feeling good about some city planning. Let me tell you right now.
I was here. Did you ever play
Um,
SimCity as a kid?
did I what?
Did you ever play SimCity as a kid?
I did not play SimCity as a kid. I was more of the Pajama Sam, Putt Putt Goes to the Moon. No, Freddy
I
Fish.
don't know any of these. No.
Pajama Sam. You never played Pajama Sam on
Nick,
CD-ROM?
let me tell you, I was an first of all. I started my games on fucking 3.5s. And there's going to be someone out there who, what are the really, really big discs that were before the 3.5 floppies? Anyway, that are going to be
Oh,
like, well, you don't have cred because of that. But no, like most of my early gaming um, was on the DOS system.
okay. I didn't go that far. I was doing, I mean, in 92, I was born in 92, so I was doing some of my early gaming in, 97, 98, maybe
Mhm.
96. But you have to remember at the time, my parents owned a photo studio, and then they pivoted when Photoshop came out to a design studio. So, like, I was from a very young age growing up in a design studio that had top of the line Macs, so I
Mhm.
had the CD-ROM games, and I had like probably like a $5,000 machine at the time with a Wacom tablet that I could scribble on. So I was like
I didn't even
goofing
realize
around
that
in
they were that old.
Photoshop. Oh yeah, but they used to be huge.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure
Um,
like that much of it, the actual like tablet could actually be used.
yeah, it was like definitely one of those. But I got to just kind of like poke around, and I like Janae and I will have these kind of like conversations about our early childhood because she grew up in a very small town, and she had like the one family computer, and it was like a Dell or something or an HP, and it was super slow to load up, and I I didn't realize how fortunate I was, that even from the youngest age I can remember, we've only ever had Macs because that's what the design studio had. It was all design focused. But we had
That's where
like
we ruined him, folks.
and we had like 15 computers. It was a pretty successful design studio. So like as a little kid, I could just be like, "Oh, there's an empty computer. I'm gonna grab my game. I'm gonna put it in here." And like I was like messing around on a rig that was, you know, overkill for a 6 year old to be playing on kind of
Oh yeah.
thing. But like that's how early I was playing on CD-ROM games and stuff like that. A lot of .com games when that was really big. Like
Mm-hmm.
Cartoon Network would have some
Did you
really
ever do
easy
RuneScape?
flash games. Huh?
Did you ever do RuneScape?
No, I played Myst. You ever played Myst?
I recently replayed through Myst like last
Oh,
year. Yeah,
oh my
John
God,
and
my
I
mom.
no, it had to have been older. No, because it was during the pandemic still. John and I got Myst, the like
Nice.
3D remake of Myst, and
Oh yeah.
played it. And like I played that game with my dad. Um, because I was like 5 or 6 when it came out.
Yeah.
And so like I was sitting there and like, not being helpful at all, I'm sure, but like, my dad, I'm sure thought it was very cute and really
Yeah.
appreciated it. And he's done all of those games. And like he really likes that style of game. And that was like the last time I ever played it. And so John and I had been talking about that, and we went and we got it, and we were playing it, and like, man, we were just like screaming at the screen out of frustration at times.
It's
And
those are
like
so hard.
Lauren would be back there behind us on the couch, like looking up the answers, and we'd
Looking
be
at the
like, "No,
answers.
you can't fucking tell us what the answers are." And she'd be getting really frustrated at us being mad at the game. But like we had like just like pages and pages of notes and like very it was great. Anyway, that was really fun, and we bought Riven, and then he moved out, so we haven't played it yet because they like
Oh
just remade Riven.
yeah, I think it was Riven.
It's pretty sure it's Riven.
Okay.
It
Anyway,
would be
uh,
Riven if you like actually followed English language, but I've only ever heard it as Riven from a lot of different people.
uh, my mom was really into those games, so I would play again because we had the machines back in the day that ran them. Because we had a couple machines that ran um, uh, Maya, so like they had the graphics needed to like run those. So I remember we played. Um, oh no, the old machines could handle Mist and Riven, but then Uru, which was like Uru Ages Beyond Mist,
Yeah, yeah.
that one needed the graphics computer because it just took too much space. And that one we never finished that one, but yeah, big puzzle games.
Okay,
Some of
hear
those
me
those
out.
little, yeah.
We need to get you and me and John into the room for like a weekend where we just have to beat one of those games in a weekend, and we don't get to sleep. We
That's
just have
hard.
to play through it
Did
because
you ever play?
none of us
Did you
have
ever
enough time to
play?
devote more than that and get us all in the same
Yeah,
place for that long.
honestly.
But
Did you
did I
ever
ever play?
did you ever like get into the escape room trend because that was like
No.
along those lines?
Okay, so I don't like the concept of an escape room for a couple of reasons. One,
Tell me.
I have clinically diagnosed anxiety. Um,
Fair.
so put me in a room, trap me, tell me I'm not allowed to get out.
Okay.
The problem.
Fair.
It's a real big problem. Um, Two, I don't like. Oftentimes, there's like there is one right solution to this, and I
Oh
find
yeah.
that thoroughly boring. It's one of the reasons I really like D&D with a good DM because it's all of the advantages of playing a video game, but you can be really clever about it. You don't have just one solution as long as you can justify the solution you use.
Yeah, I will say if I don't want to be inflammatory because that's not what
No,
the
no.
internet's for,
How
but
do we get money on the internet? Nick? Be
okay.
mean. Say a
Any
rude
and
thing.
I think escape rooms by and large are designed for much less smart people. Because you're right, there is only one right solution. But if you grew up playing Myst and you did it rather well, and you uh, have decent deductive reasoning, you walk into that room, and like if you're one of the people like me where like walk into a room, you're like scanning everything, even if you try to not do it, you're like, oh, that looks out of place, and you're like, let me go there, and you're like, oh, that's that thing I saw earlier. It's right here, and it's like it's fun for a little bit, but it's like a warm up puzzle compared to Myst. And
Mm.
again, they're fun. They're not a challenge, and but you're like, I see why maybe in other parts of the U.S. this does well because you're like this is hard for some people.
Now we are being inflammatory. I'm sorry. Are you claiming that there are only smart people on the coast, Nick?
That depends. How much money is that going to get us in ad revenue?
That don't exist anymore.
um, no, but like
Or wouldn't if you were on a decent browser. See, I brought that all the
uh,
way back.
yeah, but like if you were somebody that engages in those kinds of puzzles regularly, or like you have that kind of mentality, uh, you're going to be incredibly bored or like a little bit offended by escape rooms. But if you don't, if that's not your everyday, and you're have a more traditional career that's not every day looks incredibly different, it is different, and like it will get you to think in ways that you don't normally think. I think by virtue of being in the startup space and being in the growth space where you're literally like I'm trying to get out of the of the proverbial locked room of like the next phase of funding. You do that all the time. So when you get into like a play version of it, you're like, oh, this is like a play school version of VC. Like I can figure this out pretty quickly, just because your brain's kind of used to those challenges.
Tractable problems.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Ryan, I don't know how long we've been talking, but I feel like we're at a natural stopping place.
We've been talking for 1 hour and 11 minutes, except for that some of it doesn't count because you disappeared and some of it doesn't count because the internet died. Um, but I
Okay.
want to say here, and it doesn't count,
Okay.
we have gone for over an hour without talking in a non-meta sense about Robert Moses. So I think we really do need to rename this whole podcast Not Another Robert Moses Podcast. Or at the very least, hear me out. We name this episode Not Another Robert Moses Podcast. And people are going to listen to it and they're going to think it's entirely about Robert Moses. And then it will actually not be.
So while I understand what you're saying, I do feel that that level of humor, it requires a larger audience that knows what our general cadence looks like to then understand
Okay.
where the joke is.
Who are we trying to tell this to?
NBC, obviously. It's like you haven't even been here. um, okay, I will make a note. I'm gonna call it not
No, you don't actually have
another
to call it that.
Robert. I was gonna call it boring business as a service.
BBAT? No, I think it was just boring as a service. That's way better than
It
boring
is, but
businesses.
but for a title, like it's a
No,
little bit
boring as
more.
a service is boring as a service is
You
great.
like it?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I feel like you will
Look,
eventually understand why it's
this is
called
an
that.
episode 2. No one's listening to us right now. Either no one's
I know,
gonna
but
listen to us and that's
this goes
fine,
back to that. This
or
goes
no,
back to that
or
having
nope.
having it clean from the beginning.
Either no one's gonna listen to us and it doesn't matter, or people are gonna come back when like we're on episode 50 and they're going to listen to this and they're going to
Yeah.
understand why it's funny because they started with us when we weren't shit at doing this and then came back to this and then it feels like they're like in on this little thing because they're like, oh, this is, it's like when you're like, I really liked that band before they broke up, moved from the Midwest out to the West Coast, and then came back together 3 years later with the same band and a totally different sound. And I'm not talking about a very specific band at this moment that I'm thinking of. But anyway, as a reformed hipster,
Okay.
they can feel a little bit hipster now.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So I'm gonna go with boring as a service then. I'm gonna leave it at
I
that.
like it.